and we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA from Wounded New York. I'm Andy Hum.
You thought Hurricane Sandy would keep us away. You're wrong. Although, you know, first of all,
thank you to Rich for coming in and doing our show today.
Exactly.
And to Bill Ballman also for assisting directing today.
Our much-loved team in the control room who don't get nearly the kudos they deserve. But we're here even though we are living without power in the gay Chelsea neighborhood of New York. So does this mean that the rabbis and ministers are right, that this is all a visitation on the bad gays?
The most devastated neighborhood in New York was a right-wing neighborhood. So let's not, obviously all that stuff is foolish, but they're saying it anyway.
Yeah. But we're ignoring it, and we're here because we have an election coming up next week, and we think that's important to talk about. So we will talk about how LGBT issues are playing out nationally and in state and local races.
The big news this week, though, is that the U.S. Supreme Court announced that it will meet on November 20th to decide which of the federal same-sex marriage cases to hear. And it's a decision that could come as early as November 26th, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah. But we'll tell you what they're
That's again a decision on hearing the cases, not on deciding them.
Right. Decision would be not till next June, probably. But again, no rules on that. Meanwhile, 4 state referenda on same-sex marriage are on the line next week, assuming the election is held next week. Maine, Maryland, Washington, and Minnesota, there are hopes for a breakthrough victory, but the polls are tightening in all of these places as our opponents are hitting the airwaves with their most misleading ads. We'll show you the one that they are running everywhere. But we're also hitting back, and we'll show you some of that, too.
There is more evidence that came out this past week of Mitt Romney's anti-gay attitudes. And Obama reaffirmed his determination to end the Defense of Marriage Act. And Vice President Biden came out strongly for transgender rights.
Does that mean he's out over his wingtips again or whatever they...
No, we're for that. Obama administration's for that.
Okay. OutServe and the Service Members Legal Defense Network, which are now merged, have picked a new transgender leader, first for a major national LGBT group that is not specifically focused on trans rights.
In Sunnyside, Queens, a gay man, 62, was murdered mysteriously, and we'll tell you about that.
And Sicily, Italy, has probably elected an out gay governor, although not so gay.
We'll see.
Details to follow.
Steve Harvey addressed gayness in the African American community when he was there for the Ellen event in Washington.
At the Mark Twain Prize. And Andy has seen a timely gay play that's just opened in New York, The Austerity of Hope. So he'll tell you what he thinks of that. And we also want to let our viewers know that next week's show, which will be an election results show because we're going to tape after the election, we will be on time for those results, assuming the results are known by Wednesday. But free speech will be in one of its short pledge drive weeks, and therefore our schedule is abbreviated. Look for us Saturday night next week at 11 p.m. Eastern. We, of course, are also available online at Blip TV and at YouTube, I think. Or we have our audio podcast that you can always find at gayusatv.org. So you'll still find us, but be alert that there is a schedule change next week.
And we hope for the regular viewers of this show that we don't have to do any more convincing about the election. We hope you're all involved in your local state and state races. If you are interested in LGBT candidates, particularly around the country who are running, You can go to thevictoryfund.org, victoryfund.org, and you can see the list that they have, close races and things like that.
Long list of endorsed candidates.
But we did, in the final weeks, LGBT issues did come up a little bit in the election. The president was asked about the Defense of Marriage Act, and he reaffirmed his strong support of getting rid of that.
MTV, he was on MTV.
Yeah.
Romney's giving no interviews, but Obama is all over the place.
Yeah, because Romney doesn't want to talk, there are videotapes that have come out about Mitt Romney and the way he trashed our families and acted like, who's to say, we should have kids and all this kind of stuff. It just went on and on and on and on about how bad he is. But the biggest voice against Mitt Romney comes from the past. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of my heroes.
I have to give Andy credit for this. He remembered this and dug it up. We have a very special treat for you tonight, and this is... See if this sounds vaguely familiar. This is FDR in 1936 talking about the Republican opponents.
Let me warn you, and let me warn the nation against the smooth evasion that says, of course we believe these things. We believe in social security. We believe in work for the unemployed. We believe in saving homes. Cross our hearts and hope to die. We believe in all these things. But we do not like the way the present administration is doing them. Just turn them over to us. We will do all of them. We will do more of them. We will do them better. And most important of all, the doing of them will not cost anybody anything.
Sound familiar?
Plus ça change.
I mean, Romney is so shameless in these closing weeks. I mean, he's,
Wouldn't it be great if Obama used that as an ad?
If he just quoted it.
It's so perfect. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, as we all sit here biting our fingernails for next week, we are happy to see that the U.S. Supreme Court has announced that it is going to take under formal consideration in its conference whether to hear various same-sex marriage-related cases.
9 justices sit down. If 4 justices say we want to hear the case for any reason, it doesn't mean that they're what they feel about it. If 4 justices say yes, the case goes on the docket. Now, we are hoping that they will not hear the Proposition 8 case, allow that to stand. Everybody in California will be able to get married again immediately as soon as they announce that decision.
A Machiavellian analysis would say that the 4 conservative justices will vote to take that case to delay those marriages.
Oh, meanies. Don't
well,
be
that would be the extreme cynical position.
so mean.
Yeah.
But then they have to decide the case.
Yeah.
Then there are all the DOMA cases, the getting rid of Section 3 of DOMA so that those folks who have been able to get married legally around the country can be recognized by the federal government. And there are many of them, but only one, as you pointed out, the Edie Windsor case, is the one that Elena Kagan, who's on the court, has not been involved in as Solicitor General. So,
I don't know if she's involved in the Office of Personnel Management case, but they all raise slightly different issues. I would assume that if they're going to take this up, because all these cases deal with the constitutionality of DOMA Section 3,
right.
Why not take them all and sort out the various decisions?
And then does Elena have to recuse herself, or she just has to?
I certainly hope not.
No.
But we'll see.
Oh,
so they might take one, they might take more. All that's up in the air. There also is a case from Arizona that falls in this realm too. The state had partner benefits for domestic partners, same-sex partners, and probably opposite-sex partners too, for state employees, and the governor got rid of them.
Jan Brewer.
And then a court overruled her and said, no, you have to supply these benefits. And she appealed that, and that is also under consideration by the Supreme Court, whether to take her appeal of the court's ruling in favor of benefits.
In the midst of all this, although you didn't hear...
I think we left out the dates. November 20th, the court has this conversation about these cases. The earliest they could let us know about which cases they are or aren't taking would be November 26th, but they're under no mandate to let us know by then. They could let us know at any point.
Sure, could take a long time.
Yeah. Or not.
Right. Okay, so you didn't hear same-sex marriage debated much in this election, certainly not between the presidential candidates and the debates, but it is an issue that is on the ballot in 4 states. So let's, you know, HRC announced it's doing its biggest mobilization in their history around this, and, you know, Brad Pitt gave them $100,000 into his, for their fund to do this, and Freedom to Marry is involved, and state organizations are involved, and there are all kinds of ways to get involved if you want to get involved in those states on those issues. But,
we've thought that we had solid leads on all of these. We have 3 states that are voting to legalize same-sex marriage. Washington and Maryland, where the legislatures have already done it, and this is a vote to see whether to go along with that.
Right, the right wing is essentially trying to recall it, the vote.
And Maine, where our side just decided it's time again to give this a try on the ballot.
And they've been working in the field for 2, 3, 4 years trying to build up support for it.
Minnesota, the right wing, has put a proposal on the ballot to ban same-sex marriage with a state constitutional amendment.
Which is already banned in law.
So we thought, you know, we're doing really well in Maine, we're doing quite well in Washington, pretty well in Maryland, and Minnesota might be a toss-up. But all these races are tightening now, and the reason is that hideous Frank Schubert, if you haven't seen the movie Question 1, you can see exactly how slimy he is.
This is the political operative that designs all the campaigns against same-sex marriage.
Starting with Prop 8.
Right.
With his lesbian sister on the sidelines. But he has a very specific tack, and it worked in California, and now he's taking it. He's running the exact same ads with the state names changed in all 4 states.
It's all about the threat to your children.
And here it is.
If gay marriage happens here, schools could teach that boys can marry boys.
After Massachusetts redefined marriage, local schools taught it to children in 2nd grade. Including the school our son attended. The courts ruled parents had no right to take their children out of class or to even be informed when this instruction was going to take place.
If marriage is redefined in Minnesota, same-sex marriage could be taught in local schools, just as it was in Massachusetts. Don't make the same mistake and think that gay marriage won't affect you.
Vote yes on Amendment 1 to protect marriage.
And the evidence is that these ads work. For people who have basically said, okay, I'm going to let my gay adult friends get married, they see these ads and they go,
oh, wait a minute, I didn't think about that. Teach the kids that there are gay people?
You know, well, that doesn't mean we're not fighting back. In
Minnesota specifically, our hero Chris Kluwe, the punter for the Minnesota Vikings football team, who has been just wonderfully raucous across the board.
And they made an ad that built on the obscenity-laden tirade that he went on about this, which was very funny.
It is bleeped.
It is bleeped in the ad. You don't have to worry. You don't have to hide the children.
But this is the radio ad that is running now for same-sex marriage against the constitutional amendment in Minnesota.
Let's listen.
Are you Chris Kluwe, the plumber?
I'm not a plumber, I'm a punter. Who are you guys?
We're the government. We'll ask the questions. Did you call an elected official a lustful monster?
No, I said he wouldn't turn into a lustful monster if gay people could get married.
You can't go around calling elected officials lustful monsters.
Actually, I can. This is America.
You married, Kluwe?
I am.
To a woman?
Yes.
Good. That's the way we like it.
My wife and I are parents to 2 terrific daughters.
We know. That's why we're here.
You're here because of our kids?
Yes. We don't like the way you're raising them.
What?
You don't care if they grow up to marry a man or a woman.
My wife and I believe when our girls are adults, they should be able to marry whoever they love. We're Americans. We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes, we know. That's why we're changing the Constitution.
No, you can't do that.
Yes, we can. We just have to trick enough people into agreeing with us. Now say yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Come on.
No, not gonna do it. No.
Don't vote discrimination into Minnesota's Constitution. Just vote no. Let's show the world that love really is bigger than government.
Paid for by Minnesotans for Equality.
Gotta love this guy.
I love this ad because it is so pro-American, so basic values, which is what we are trying to assert while we're being called, scummy, disgusting hurricane provokers.
And it's great to have a straight ally like that. We know we have a lot of non-gay viewers watching out there. We do need you to stand up for us. This is a time of crisis. Please
speak up.
Talk to your neighbors.
Yeah. So thank you, Chris Cluey. We're very concerned about all these votes. We've never really won one of these. We won one in Arizona that was a little muddy, and then they did it.
It was muddy because it included domestic partners and marriage, and then they just made it marriage,
Seniors.
and we lost.
Yeah.
Yes. Then there is Maryland, which is tight. And although, this is, again, the legislature passed the law, they're trying to recall it. There's a special appeal here that we're going to run that is targeting African-American women, or using African-American women in the ad.
Large African-American population in Maryland, large split between progressive and conservative parts of the African-American population, big fights, pastors on each side, Congress members. And so this is an attempt to use Obama's support of marriage.
Which has helped.
Exactly. I hope so. To urge black women to support marriage.
So, who are you voting for president?
Who do you think?
I know, but what about question 6? My pastor says he's okay with it, but I just don't know.
I didn't know either, but then I heard President Obama supported marriage for gay couples.
Really?
You haven't heard him? I've got the clip here on my phone.
You have that on your phone?
Yes, it's that important. Listen up.
Same-sex couples should be able to get married. I had hesitated on gay marriage because I thought civil unions would be sufficient. Malia and Sasha, they've got friends whose parents are same-sex couples. It wouldn't dawn on them that their friends' parents would be treated differently. That's the kind of thing that prompts a change of perspective. When we think about our faith, but it's also the golden rule.
That is so true.
Isn't it, though? I'd always kind of been on the fence, but Obama makes it so simple. It's about fairness, treating everyone equal under the law.
Well, if that's what a vote for question 6 means, I'm fired up and ready to go.
Paid for by Marylanders for Marriage Equality.
So
Sophia Silvergill, Treasurer.
If people want to protect their kids, they should talk to your kids and see what they think about this issue.
Well, the point is that there is some thoughtful work going on to address people's direct concerns, and we'll see what happens next week.
Well,
if nothing else, please vote. Please, please get your friends to vote. So crucial this year.
In Minnesota, they're even having seniors call other seniors as a way to reach people, because it's generally a group we have a tough time with.
And
we're seniors, we're almost anyway.
If you want more information about these state referenda, go to freedomtomarry.org, and they will link you to any of these particular states and explain all the issues and all the state votes to you.
And in Maine, I won't use his name, but one of the $1,000 donors to block same-sex marriage was also one of the guys who turned up on the Kennebunk John list, of the guys who were going to prostitutes. So total hypocrisy. Okay.
There's a lot of that. Look, Stephen Goldstein of Garden State Equality says that the right-wing Hasidim show up to lobby against marriage in New Jersey, and then one of them comes over to him and quietly comes out to him, and then goes back and starts yelling the anti-gay slogans again.
Outrageous.
Sad.
Well, speaking of sad and outrageous, we did pass same-sex marriage in New York, and we had to flip some Democratic votes and a couple of Republican votes to do it. One of the guys we flipped was Joe Adabo, a state senator from actually one of the worst-hit parts of Queens in the Sandy thing. And, he voted for it, and now he's got a tough Republican opponent in a new district, and he says, now I'm against same-sex marriage again, because my new district is against it. And just so disgusting.
Profiles encourage. Also an interesting tidbit this week was we are reminded again you know, the National Organization for Marriage still refusing to make public its donor list, even though it's been ordered by courts everywhere to do so. They missed another filing deadline. They're just stonewalling, so to speak. But what is coming out is how they trump up things like Facebook likes. And those are all phonied up, and that they're
from like Nicaragua or something.
They have no grassroots base. They have no grassroots donors. It's really three nasty guys working for Frank Schubert.
AstroTurf. Although they win all the time, and we're going to prove that. We hope we can prove them wrong this time. You know, I guess it's the Williams Institute, or Gary Gates anyway, did an analysis of the Gallup poll. You know how they show Romney and Obama neck and neck. He says, but when you add the LGBT vote in, it puts Obama up by 2%. Well, I mean, in other words, we're a very small percentage, but we can make a huge difference because it's like, I think Romney's only getting like about 22% in the current polls of the gay vote, which again is
shocking that he gets that much.
Yeah.
All right. But Obama, there was a little confusion last week when he went on MTV and was asked about same-sex marriage, and he, once again talks about his support for repeal of DOMA and says it's going to be found unconstitutional, and is working for that in the courts and the legislature, and but that states are entitled under our system to decide who gets married, and someone tried to jump on him for that.
Why don't you do a federal law for same-sex marriage across the country? And that's just never, our whole argument is that marriage has always been defined by the states. Now, if the states have discriminatory laws, that has to be taken up in court. It wouldn't be taken up by the Congress.
No.
Right.
No, the Supreme Court will ultimately, hear this prediction, outlaw all these state constitutional amendments.
Billy Graham took out a full-page ad in newspapers across the country saying, I believe it is vitally important we cast our ballots for candidates who base their decision on biblical principles and support the nation of Israel. I urge you to vote for those who protect the sanctity of life and support the biblical definition of marriage between a man and a woman. Not all those other biblical definitions of marriage about, guys who had a bunch of them and married their, nieces or something. Anyway, this is the way Billy Graham is choosing to go out. And then there's another full-page ad this week that is from the federal government saying, everybody hates you. Well, what it says is you don't see bullying like this every day, but your kids do, and teach your kids to be more than a bystander. And it's from stopbullying.gov. I think these are the kinds of ads that will stop if Mitt Romney gets elected.
Sure.
Anti-bullying programs, because the Obama administration has been pretty terrific on that.
Yeah. A couple of dirty tricks by Republican gays.
Republican gays.
In Wisconsin, there is...
This is beyond the log cabin endorsing Romney, which is a dirty trick.
Yes. Election to replace Tammy Baldwin in the U.S. House of Representatives because win or lose her Senate race, she has given up her House seat. So there is a gay man, Mark Pocan, Democrat, who is way in the lead to replace her.
In Madison.
Yes. But meanwhile, there is a gay Republican conservative working for his opponent who decided he was going to try to have an effect on the election by doing one of these fake assaults and claiming that he had been
He sent around pictures of himself with bruises and in a neck brace, picked up by the right-wing media like crazy.
Yep. Saying, look, we've seen people fake attacks for various reasons. This guy says he was gay bashed by left-wing gays, called a traitor, et cetera, and then he admitted that he made the whole thing up.
Now, this could be charges against him, of course, and in 2008, he was part of a real assault. He threatened his former boyfriend with a butcher knife and pleaded no contest in 2008.
Wow.
He only got a $275 fine for threatening his boyfriend with a knife.
Slightly less violent, but also hideous. In North Carolina, there is a lesbian, Susan Wilson, who is running for the state legislature. She would be the second out legislator in North Carolina. And there's a gay man working for the Republicans who called her a big, ugly dyke.
That's nice.
Wasn't that sweet?
Yeah, I hope.
I think she's quite attractive.
I think people understand who to vote for.
Yeah.
And then
Good luck to you, Susan.
The increasingly, I mentioned Billy Graham, the increasingly desperate Catholic bishops who are issuing all these statements, like this one from the Catholic Bishop of Green Bay, Wisconsin, David Lauren Ricken, who said, voting for candidates whose positions contradict the non-negotiables, including same-sex marriage, put one's soul in jeopardy. These are areas that are intrinsically evil and cannot be supported by anyone who is a believer in God or the common good or the dignity of the human person. I mean...
Vote the wrong way and you're going to hell.
Oh, my goodness. You guys, I mean, why do you... I have to ask Catholics, why are these your leaders when you don't believe these things?
Yeah.
All right. Then there's Joe Biden, who met a woman in Sarasota who told him her daughter was Miss Trans New England, and he told her, that's the civil rights issue of our time.
So true, Joe.
It's true.
And to prove it, Outserve SLDN, the newly merged organization, that's Service Members Legal Defense Network, has hired a new executive director, and it is Allison Robinson, who is a transgender woman and veteran.
Former commissioned officer, worked at HRC on workplace issues, of course, and was a 1994 graduate of West Point.
Yep.
Worked as a pastor teacher and has a wife and 4 kids. And the challenge, of course, is the continued relevance of the organization. But, of course, it's not over, especially for transgendered service members who are...
Well, 2 things. Transgender people still cannot serve. They're just automatically disqualified. And for partnered lesbian and gay members of the service, they are not entitled to the same benefits on the grounds of the Defense of Marriage Act. So there is still a lot of work to be done.
Everything Ann just said is correct.
Plus, you know, following through with people having good experiences.
Now, we've got some very shocking and sad news in New York, and that is an attack on a very beloved figure in the gay community in Sunnyside, Queens. His name is Lou Rispoli. He has died as a result of this attack. Now, he is a gay man, a big figure in the gay community out there. We do have his picture there someplace. And but he was out walking late. He takes late night walks, and somebody saw him with 2 men who, this is at 2 o'clock in the morning, and who came up and not came up, were with him, and then hit him with a blunt instrument so hard that people who heard it but didn't see it thought it was a gunshot. So he was immediately brain dead, died a few days later. People are just shocked about this, and no one knows what happened. No, I mean, I've talked to his friends, his close friends. They cannot understand. You know, he was, you know, it's a safe neighborhood. He did like taking late night walks, but they just don't know what his relationship with these people might have been, or if he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But if you know, please call 800-577-TIPS in New York if you have any clue as to what the mystery of this murder is.
That's the police hotline. If you'd rather, you can contact the AntiViolence Project by going to avp.org, and they'll be happy to talk to you about this. Interesting outcome to the first attempt by the federal government to prosecute an assault, an attack in Kentucky as a hate crime. This guy was sort of taken out in the woods by 2 men, 2 women, a married couple, a sister, a cousin, and brutally assaulted. And
with anti-gay slurs the whole time.
You know, get the faggot, that kind of stuff.
He comes back and, you know, he survives this attack. He falls down a ravine and he gets away from them, so he's able to report it. And they prosecute these guys, first time, as you say, a federal hate crime on LGBT, and they convicted them of the assault and all this other kind of stuff, and the guys are going to go to jail for a long time. But they failed on the hate crimes thing. The jury was not convinced because he knew these guys. Apparently, some of the women involved were...
Here's the story. First of all, the attackers said this was a drug deal gone bad. It had nothing to do with his sexual orientation. He is gay, but, you know, we all knew that. He was part of the family or the crowd or whatever. This was about a drug deal. And 3 of the 4 people who attacked are bisexual.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have anti-gay hatred in your heart if you are gay and bisexual.
Absolutely, but it's a unique defense in rural Kentucky.
Well,
if I may.
The equality group is
Stereotype.
obviously disappointed by the failure of this prosecution, but hate crimes prosecutions are dicey things.
They are, and the federal government says this will not deter them from future hate crimes prosecutions, but they were disappointed.
Well,
a little.
We've got, in Utah, you know, they have this pink dot campaign. I actually
Remind me.
I forgot to put this thing up. I forgot to give you the website, pink.ut, utah.org. It's called the Support, Love, Courage campaign, and they're going to hold a big LGBT event in St. George, which is in southern Utah on
Southwest Utah.
November the 3rd in Vernon Worthen Park, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is how it ends. It ends in the formation of a giant human pink dot. And that's how to symbolize
hands across America,
love and acceptance. Well, I think it's a great thing to do. I'm in southern Utah.
I'm for all.
You know, and I think it's something we could pick up around the country for visibility.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that mean we all have pink dots on our head or something to make a pink dot?
I don't think that's how. I think they wear pink stuff.
Oh, okay.
To do that. We do have a couple of memorial services to announce in our community. We're going to put these up here. We told you about the death of photographer Betty Lane, who was in her 70s when she passed away. That service is November 3rd at 11 a.m. at the Judson Memorial Church.
You think that's going to happen? That's in the blackout zone.
Well, they got a lot of stained glass windows there to let light in, and I think they could go out in the park.
Check with Judson Memorial Church if there's any.
And the following Saturday, November 11th, is the service for their 91-year-old former pastor Howard Moody, who probably a non-gay man who probably did more for LGBT rights than almost anybody in the city, and that's at 11 a.m. also at Judson. And then finally, December the 8th, Donald Suggs, who was a former board member here at MNN, who got us here on the show, a beloved figure in the LGBT community. That's December 8th at 1 p.m. at St. Mark's on the Bowery, which is 2nd Avenue and 10th Street on December the 8th. We'll be there for those.
Yes. All right, moving on to international news.
Yeah, I guess so.
A fascinating story from Sicily, Italy, where a gay man, you have his name, I'm sure, I don't.
Rosario Crocetta.
Seems to have been elected governor of Sicily with 30% of the vote. That's the top vote getter. He'll have to make a coalition government. He's quite a guy.
Well, first of all,
he's not a big proponent of gay rights.
No, I mean, and he's also the first center-left governor in more than 10 years. So he's got to make this coalition. So in the process, he's announcing, well, don't worry, I'm going to be celibate. I ain't going to have sex while I'm governor. Now, don't say things like that. I mean, if you don't want to have sex, that's fine. You don't have to tell anybody. There's nothing wrong with that.
We are a diverse community.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with not having sex.
But he is famous for being one of the big anti-mafia crusaders, and he's also very religious. So he's an interesting character. We'll follow him.
Sicily.
And a huge turnout in Taipei, Taiwan. 50,000 people at the Pride March there last weekend.
In Taipei, yeah. It included the Hong Kong pop star Gigi Leung and the singer Anthony Wong, who had earlier confirmed that he is gay, and he showed up to express his support for LGBT rights. And so big breakthrough there.
Okay. All right, entertainment news. Well, some will be sad to hear that Anderson Cooper's talk show has not succeeded and he is being canceled. I never thought that was the right venue for him anyway. I thought he should stick to news. I didn't see much point in it.
He's gone back and forth a couple of times over the years. Not his sexuality.
He did host The Mole. How could I have forgotten? So maybe just has a funny bone he likes to indulge. But the show will run through next summer because that's how long the contract goes. And who knows, maybe someone else will pick him up if they want him enough. But there are a lot of new talk shows, afternoon talk shows this year. And
they only want out lesbians.
Is that why Katie Couric is doing okay?
Is Katie a lesbian?
Yeah.
I didn't know, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. I am not going to talk about that show. Now, I saw, what are we up to next? Yeah, we're up to Steve Harvey.
Ah, okay. Should we do that? Yes.
Yeah, Steve Harvey was at the Mark Twain Award, which was given to Ellen, which I watched. It was this week, and it was good.
Kennedy Center.
He's coming in on the red carpet, and the interviewer
who's a little annoying.
Yes, the interviewer is annoying, but Steve is not annoying.
No.
And that's why we're showing you this, because he talks very seriously about homophobia in the African American community and the way he feels about Ellen and all those kinds of things. So let's go to the videotape.
Tell me what Ellen's coming out meant to you.
It was just Ellen. I've known Ellen from back in the day from stand-up in comedy clubs. It's just Ellen. It really didn't, I mean, she's such a genuine person with who she is. I mean, what's not to like, you know? People got to get off of that nowadays, you know what I'm saying? I mean, let it ride, man. It's okay. I heard something really funny the other day. A guy said, if you're against gay marriage, don't marry a gay person. Period. That's it. Just don't do that. Other than that, let it ride, man. What's the problem? So it was never a difference with me with Ellen, you know, always the same.
Did you know that she was gay prior to her coming out?
Yeah.
And it was fine?
Yeah, I mean, it was no problem at all. Look, I've come a long way. You know, we have a lot of gay friends, gay employees. You know, I grew up in a very different neighborhood where that was really frowned upon. But as you grow up and you develop as a person, you learn. Hey, man, wait a minute. Whoa. You're crazy. This is a really cool person. And so once I found out that everybody was cool, then I was cool with everybody. I really don't have, it's no big deal to me. It's really not.
Do you know how remarkable that is that you're saying? That's amazing. I mean, for you to have that revelation to come from where you come from and then to make that revelation, you know, we have, in our black gay community, there's struggle constantly within that, and we want the black community to embrace them. What can we say to the black community at large to embrace the black gay community?
Well, I mean, look, whether you embrace it or not is there. Come on, it's in our churches, it's in your homes, it's in your family. You know, you're not gonna turn your back on somebody because they made a statement that's not the same as yours. I mean, let's get with it, man. If you take gays out of the black community, you can pretty much shut churches down. You can pretty much start closing them. Really. I'm so serious, man.
You are my favorite interview tonight. You are a remarkable, remarkable man.
Hey, man, I just say what it is. You know, I'm not the most politically correct guy in the world, but, you know, you ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you the truth, you know, and I let it lay where it lay. I'm going to get some flack, I'm sure, from somebody after I say this, especially when I said you can shut the black church down. I'm going to get ate up, but it's a true statement. Choirs would not be the same without them. Trust me. I'd quit going. Know that.
That's terrific that he's saying he wouldn't go if you took all the gays out of the church.
And it's a not often discussed but widely understood fact that there are all the look. We had Tony Heilbut on here, who's written a whole
Anthony
chapter.
Heilbut, as he is called in the book, who wrote The Fan Who Knew Too Much, and and he didn't say just the black church. He said let's look at Michelangelo and everything else and church music. And what would be gone if you took gays out of everything? And people need to face up to this.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, show a little appreciation for what. But of course, the other thing is, it shouldn't be based on that. We got a lot of gay jerks, as we've reported on this week, and some of them work for Republican campaigns.
Yes.
And some Democrats are jerks, like Joe Adabo. So, but and he's not gay, but he switched on a gay rights issue. So, look, just accept people's civil rights. But I have another case I would like to talk about, an underappreciated form of art, and that's lap dancing. Because the places that run the lap dancing, stay with me on this, they were looking for the same kind of tax exemption for their entertainment that theaters get and other places get, ballet companies get, and they're saying, hey, this is what's different about this, that people like it. you know, and
I want to see people sticking $20 bills in the ballet costumes, in the tutus.
Not Bishop Tutu, the tutus.
And the opera costume.
And anyway, the guy is, this case is a New York case, and they're going to appeal to the Supreme Court. But how do you distinguish these things? I mean, it's not fair. Now, I did see a good play this week, and we haven't seen too many lately.
No, we haven't, although, you know.
This one is called The Austerity of Hope. It's by Dan Fingerman, and it's directed by Dan Dinero, a bunch of Dans, and there's some pictures from the production. It's an ensemble of young gay men, a couple of lesbians and a non-gay woman as well, all in Astoria, Queens, as the 2008 election is unfolding, you know, the audacity of hope. Well, they call this the austerity of hope, and they're all good in the cast. They're led by a guy named Max Reiser, who sort of starts out as the indifferent Lothario, the real tough guy, and he changes. You know, it's all about change, but I'm not going to tell you how he changes because I want you to go see the show.
Into a rhinoceros?
Well, you may be. This is a, look, it's a very straightforward reflection of LGBT lives as they're being lived today and the issues that we deal with today, and it's directed very briskly, and it's, you know, I would say that the dialogue is very sharply observed, it's very funny, it's serious, so I would treat yourself to it. It's there at the Abington Theater Company.
A few years ago, we had on this show Alison Bechdel, who is the legendary author and creator of the comic strip Dykes to Watch Out For, because she had written a new graphic novel about her life called Fun Home, about growing up in a family funeral home in rural Pennsylvania with her closeted gay father and
who may or may not have committed suicide.
Oh, did, according to her. But yes, a little ambiguity involved. So this is now being turned into a musical play by Lisa Crone, formerly of the Five Lesbian Brothers.
Who wrote the Broadway play Well.
And starred in it and was fantastic. Loved that.
With Jane Howdyshell as her mother.
So now Fun Home is in a workshop production at the Public Theater here and has a few more performances this weekend, although with the power blackouts and everything, I don't know whether the show is going to go on now. They're talking about a possible major production next year. So I can't review it formally.
Right.
But I certainly enjoyed it. I thought there were many wonderful parts to it. It's still a work in progress. But what was really stunning was to sit there and watch this this evolution of lesbian identity play out on a stage in musical form. It's not something you see a lot. You see a fair number of gay male plays.
Yeah. Doesn't seem fair.
Well, it doesn't seem smart, but this
You had all those good lesbian movies, Go Fish and all, and you know, and Desert Hearts and all those kinds of things.
I had a nightmare one night where I was trying to murder Lillian Hellman for writing
the
Children's Hour because it was such a negative view of lesbians. So we could still use a few positive images. So Fun Home, something to keep your eye on, and if you're here and if the public is doing it this weekend.
And with any luck, I'll be able to give you a review of Coleman Domingo's new show, Wild with Happy, which has already gotten a nice review in the Times. I was supposed to see it on Thursday night, but we don't know if the public theater is going to be open. We haven't been open at our place down in London, down where we live in Chelsea. And it's
the gay neighborhood of Chelsea and the West Village, everything south of about 30th Street is no power and no end in sight.
I am going to publicly thank my friends Herb and Dan for putting me up. I'm roughing it up there on Central Park West and 70, you know, up across from the Dakota.
Well, then I'll thank Jessica, who put me up last night and tonight, and my friend Lita, who has volunteered to step in for the next few nights.
Bill still needs a place to stay, so if anybody's got an idea and we're still blacked out down there in Chelsea, shoot us an email and we'll pass that on.
AndyHum@AOL.com.
Right.
If you've got an empty bedroom
Uptown.
and some power, please.
Because we need power. We need power for charge our Blackberries and our cell phones and get the news for you. It's very hard to keep up when you don't have these things.
Exactly.
Right. No, you know, We are going into this the final stretch of this election. This whole crisis in New York has sort of made us forget about the election to a great extent.
Well, it's interesting because I see a lot of emails still flying around about the election, and I'm sitting here with no power and homeless wandering the streets.
People are dead. People are turning up dead in their apartments.
80 homes destroyed in a fire at Breezy Point. You know, the whole East Coast just devastated.
The subway system may not be back in full for months.
And yet life goes on. And, you know, when disasters happen elsewhere, my life goes on here. So we just happen to be caught this
again,
time.
we don't know what's going to happen by the time you see this. I mean, 9/11, there was a primary election that day, and it was going on for a while, and then it was canceled and postponed for another couple of weeks. So we don't know what's going to happen with the United States election.
It makes it all the more important, though, that you really pay attention to the need to vote, because it is going to be hard for people. And even if they succeed in continuing to put on this election next week, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, and of course, and now we have all these machines that are dependent on electrical power.
Exactly.
What the hell were we going to do if this hit a couple of weeks later?
If we could just pull the lever.
Pull the lever, or I just want a piece of paper. This is the way they did it.
Paper ballot.
And you mark a big X next to the candidate that you want, and then take the time to count it. Who needs to know an hour later or 5 minutes later? It doesn't take that long to count.
Right.
Get everybody together and do that. And there are races all over the country that are so important. Tammy Baldwin is in a dead heat in Wisconsin against Tommy Thompson. It's a very ugly race. We're very much hoping for Elizabeth Warren winning in Massachusetts, even though her opponent has been endorsed by the Log Cabin Club.
Claire McCaskill, Heidi, what's her name in North Dakota, Shelley Berkeley in Nevada. There are a lot of these progressive.
Sherrod Brown in Ohio.
Yep.
These are people that the Human Rights Campaign is most concerned about. These are Senate candidates. Martin Heinrich in New Mexico, Mazie Hirono in Hawaii, Tim Kaine in Virginia.
Mazie in Hawaii is interesting because she is the Democrat running against Linda Lingle, the former Republican governor, who's getting a lot of flack these days because when she was governor, the legislature passed a civil unions law, and she refused for weeks to say what she was going to do about it. And finally, she hit the deadline for signing the law.
So she invites everybody in.
Both sides.
Why don't you come in and see what I'm going to do? And then she says, veto.
Right in
Screw
front.
you.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
That is unconscionable.
And when confronted about this behavior, her answer is, well, I just wanted to be fair to everybody by having them all there to watch this.
She sounds like your Hasidic guy you were talking about who came out and then
yes, because we've heard for years that she's a closet case.
Exactly.
So.
And there's also Chris Murphy in Connecticut against the horrible Linda McMahon up there.
Who's running very effective ads.
Well,
with an infinite amount of money.
Absolutely.
But he seems to be a little ahead.
He does seem to be.
I don't know. You know, I sit here on this show week after week and cast aspersions on polls.
Yes.
And I do believe the polls have a liberal bias in the end, that the conservatives hide out on these polls. And all these slim leads everywhere across the country make me very nervous.
Nate Silver says that Obama's going to win. Stop worrying. But folks, you know what?
He didn't count. You know what's the October surprise?
Yeah.
Hurricane Sandy.
And Chris Christie coming out for Obama and saying what a great guy he is.
Well, he has to. He's talking about between a rock and a hard place.
Well, the right wing is very upset with him.
Because he said he didn't want to hear from Romney. He doesn't want to tour Romney on the disaster.
Did he say that?
Yes.
Well, and by the way, they're thinking of running the New York Marathon this weekend. I hope that they don't, while people are still being dug out of their places and, you know, and no power and all this other kind of stuff. And, you know, we need people, we need all the police and fire on the corners directing traffic so people don't kill themselves where there's no power.
They're out there now.
We're talking about our stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, we mentioned earlier in the program that if you want to know about LGBT candidates, go to thevictoryfund.org. Go to the HRC website, find out what's going on around the country. You know, get involved in these last stages of the campaign.
Look.
But vote.
Chad Griffin, the new executive director of HRC, is running around the country trying to get people worked up about all these things.
Taking his staff with him. That's all good. That's all good.
And they put out a very good summary of the work they're doing.
So go to their website, hrc.org, hrc.org, and you can check them out and what's going on around the country.
It is not too late to get involved. It is not too late to support the candidates of your choice, to ring a few doorbells, to make a few phone calls. It is not too late, please. Right. There is, even if you're seeing this a few days after we record it, there is time, and it's right up to the end. It needs to be done.
Right. We're going to do it even if we don't have power. Although, can we? How are we going to vote?
Have an election?
How are we going to vote?
Well,
if there's no power in Chelsea.
They can send us to polling places elsewhere.
Yeah.
They can rearrange the precincts. They can take all the information about us, all the books with our, and put us in a different polling place. How are they going to let us know
where to go? I mean, it's a nightmare.
Excellent question.
It's a nightmare.
It is.
And these electronic machines are ridiculous. Anyway, so are we getting down to the end here?
Let's do that.
We're going to just go out tonight.
No, I think we'll be coming back.
Maybe coming back, but we've got, there was this wonderful thing that the Broadway crowd did called One Term More for Obama. It's very clever. It's very anti-Romney, which we are too.
It's a takeoff on the great Les Mis anthem with lyrics that have to do with this election. So, you know, we're out to inspire you any way we can.
Enjoy this.
So enjoy this.
One term more, a time to celebrate democracy, repeal Republican hypocrisy. This man who would unseat Barack's a bleak choice at the ballot box, one term more.
GOP perdition bound, our sense of right and wrong eroded.
One term more,
with laws that let them stand their ground. Republicans are locked and loaded.
Contraception's now a sin.
Screwing GM in the clutch.
Incivility's a virtue.
Homophobic out of touch.
Filibusters, budget scrubs.
Ultrasounds and speculums.
To the dark side they've succumbed.
Soon election day will dawn.
We were meant to hold this seat
at the ballot box of freedom.
Unemployment in retreat.
Now the battle lines are drawn.
And Detroit's back on its feet.
Will you take your place with me?
The time is now. The Lord is dead.
One more day to re-election, and until the music stops, we will fight to save the jobs of teachers, firemen, and cops. One more day to resolution, we'll defeat those vetted nuts. We are fed up with pernicious talk of prostitutes and sluts.
Watch them growing up, living malcontent. Drinking all the teas make them incontinent. Dissembling persists, divisiveness prevails. Calling colleagues communists is off the rails. Listen to them spew, feminazi rage. Misogynistic rant from the Jurassic Age. To Obama said, if you need you, right home another one. Norma Ray and Sister C, Rosa Parks, the freedom ring. For Obama's just beginning, yes, the West Wing will be won, and we'll get the dream back done. My place is here. taking off the trail, bullied by his peers, tackled to the ground, screams her name to tears, hunting down the queer, cutting off his hair, unspeakable, you can't recall if he was there. It's his character we question. Don't let him down election day. And we will determine what our God in heaven has in store. One more term, oh promise. One term.
Oh.
Apologies for the sound quality a little. Evidently, our system screws up stereo a little.
But
so.
there were subtitles there, and that's online. If you just Google One Term More, you can watch that and inspire yourself and your friends, send it around to your friends.
And see a little longer version that gives the credits of who
are the soloists in there, yeah. And the people who put it together, you know, they're not doing it for profit. They're just doing it to inspire folks, and that's what we try to do here at Gay USA for the last 27 years.
Oh, speak for yourself. It's only been 16 for me.
It's getting to 17 for you.
Yes, it is.
Happy Halloween, everybody. I mean, we didn't get to celebrate it in New York.
We're stretching a little because we were very
fast,
economical with our news today.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's been a crazy week here, and
we're a little discombobulated,
frightening, and frustrating, and great sadness for the people who have been hit so hard and lost their homes and lost their lives.
And you know, I hate to say it, but it makes me think how cheap we are with protecting public safety. You know, anybody could have seen this coming.
I don't know.
Wait a minute, we had Irene last year, the rising of the seas. I mean, and you know, it took a flood in.
I'm going to argue this with you.
It took a flood in London. You know, London was flooded in 1950. You know, just underwater, because the Thames rose up. It was a surge from the sea that came in. So they built this elaborate thing called the Thames Barrier, which can stop the flow way upstream, and it's not going to happen in London anymore.
Well, they're talking about doing that here now.
Yes, but no, they've been talking about it for a long time.
But this is an unprecedented event.
I mean, this is as Governor Cuomo said. You know, this is the 100-year storm, the second one we've had in 2 years. Because
But Irene wasn't nearly this bad.
It could have been, though, depending on direction.
But that's why a lot of people didn't evacuate this time, because they threatened a lot about it, and it wasn't as bad. So a lot of people stayed where they were.
But when it hits, and there've been many.
Sure.
I put on Facebook, go to my Facebook page, an article that a woman wrote in February describing what was going to happen when this thing hits, and how we're not prepared for it.
You've been digging up a lot of stuff.
Well,
FDR, the woman in February.
What are you going to do? Vote is what you're going to do.
Vote.
Let's focus on that.
And next week we will have the election results.
Thanks for being with us. Bye-bye.